DIY steering wheel and pedals. Section A. Pratik Raut's 2017 pedals. It all had happened in late 2017, which led to the invention of these electronic and affordable video game or car racing pedals. In 2017, once while Pratik Raut was using this Asus's mouse as usual, the left click of it had started functioning quite less as compared to the right click. Later, as time passed by, it had almost stopped functioning all of a sudden. Due to the finished body, style of the mouse and out of curiosity, he had disassembled the mouse and had already acknowledged that the problem was due to the button of the mouse. For verification, he then had quickly soldered two wires onto the two endpoints of the button respectively, after which the left click had started working after touching those two soldered wires manually to each other. From this he had thought of creating the pedals controller using this mouse, and then he had did the same thing with the right mouse button. After finishing with the mouse part, he then had created a pedals layout model using cardboard and had taped the negative wire of these two buttons below the pedals, followed by the positive wire of these two buttons that was taped at the center of the back side of these two pedals, viz. the accelerator and the brake, thereby covering the backside with aluminium foil respectively. After this stage he then had glued cube-shaped sponge beneath these two pedals respectively for getting a spring-like effect and maintaining the ratio of the pedal press. He then had also attached a stick from the pull game onto the middle button of the mouse using heat treatment for using it as a handbrake. After finishing with the whole setup and with those test cases, he then had the last step of binding the keyboard's up arrow, down arrow and space keys key event to that of the mouse's left, right and middle buttons respectively. It all had worked flawlessly back then. Section A. Pratik Raut's 2022 pedals. Today, in 2022, Pratik Raut used the same approach that he had used in 2017 and altered and merged the resources of his previous model, hereby creating an upgraded version of those pedals, which he calls it as Pratik Raut's 2022 pedals. In this new version, he wanted more realistic feeling of those pedals, followed by the tough, solid and rigidness of the pedals layout, as that's why he used a wooden board for the base, two punching machines for the accelerator and brake, not only for the spring-like action but also for the proper housing of the physical structure of the wires. Even the mouse this time is sealed inside of an old Android box's cabinet with proper packaging of both the mouse and the pedals. While testing this new version, he stated these two ways of getting the output from these pedals. 1. By binding keyboard's key events, 2017. 2. By sending keyboard's keystrokes, 2022. For executing the 2022 output method, he created a tool named Pedals that would send the keys WNs on every left and right click respectively, which would also be quite safer rather than binding the keys, according to Pratik Raut. However, the result was quite as expected, but it was with delays, as so much to the point that it would almost have 1/4 seconds of delay between every left or right click respectively, which would later cause performance issues and disturbance during gameplay. He had already acknowledged this before creating the tool, as there of course is a lot of difference between sending of keys and binding of keys, especially in performance and response time. As that is why he still recommends to use the key binding method for getting the output of the pedals. Section B. Steering wheel. This Typhoon 20100 steering wheel was purchased 12 years before in 2010. This steering wheel was working fine until 2018 when it had reached its end of life due to cable and circuit components failure. It was an electrical steering wheel with rotation angle of 60 degrees but not until 2022. In 2022, Pratik Raut disassembled the steering wheel and removed all the electrical components, thereby converting it into a custom infinite degrees rotation angle mechanical steering wheel. The reason he turned it into a mechanical steering wheel is for using the mobile's tilting sensitivity as the steering factor. So, for mounting the mobile onto the steering wheel, at first, he had used the inside tray of VR headset by cutting the two sides of the lengthy tray, thereby fitting it perfectly onto the steering wheel. But later, when he found it out, his Cross Supreme Court CR01 tablet stand, which was purchased 8 years before in 2014, he quickly modified that one for a perfect grip and finally selected that one as the mounting factor. For steering wheel, the tilting sensitivity input is captured and received via touch tracer application, whereas for the pedals, the keyboard keys are temporarily bound to the mouse using glove pie application. Thanks for watching.